Hello, I'm Gretchen Corey, and for this final, I decided to make a video presentation and design the costumes for what I believe characters from the novel that we read in class, Wyland, would wear in a film version of the novel. And the first character I chose to design clothing for was Clara Wyland. And during this time in the novel Wyland, this took place in the 18th century in Pennsylvania. So a lot of the clothing that I picked out and searched online took place as 18th century usual clothing. For Clara, I added, this was the type of gowns that most women wore back then, especially in Pennsylvania, more of a tighter corset, and then longer sleeves and very big poofy skirts at the end. And for Clara, I picked a lavender purple because I saw her as being more simple and plain as that type of character, and I feel like she would pick more of one color dress, a solid color of the dress, and I think it would just suit her personality and also being a single woman at the time. I feel like this really just fit her. The second character I chose to design an outfit for was Theodore Wyland, which was Catherine's brother and Wyland's son. And for Theodore, it also was in Pennsylvania, the 18th century. So this is typically kind of the outfits you would see the men wearing there. It would be some type of long coat with a undershirt and then almost these tight looking pants with long stockings. And for Theodore, I once again kind of stuck to a more simple look with colors. I feel like it wasn't very colorful then, kind of more dull. They were also on a farm, kind of land area, so they're not by many different resources. The next character I chose to design an outfit for was Catherine Pleyel. And sticking with the 18th century type of clothing for Catherine compared to Clara, I kind of saw Catherine's character as a more prestigious, more she has a lot. She is in a family with children, so I think she would care about her appearance a little more. I still have the same type of idea with the big flowy gown, and for her I kind of put in more multicolor, and I just added more design to the dress itself because I feel like that would fit her and her personality. The next character I chose to make an outfit for was Carwin. And in my head and in the story from the details they give to make Carwin, he's more of a mysterious type of man. He's a little bit bigger, something a little bit different than what the Wyland family circle was kind of used to, because Carwin was also from the Netherlands. So I decided that his clothing would be a little bit different than the other gentlemen's clothing in Pennsylvania. And for Carwin, I gave him kind of a more navy suit and jacket, which I feel shows him more from Netherlands. I made him with a top hat, more of a foreigner, prestigious man. And then we have the checkered bottoms just to show it wasn't as simple. At least I believe his clothing wouldn't have been as simple as the Wylands who lived on the farm in Pennsylvania, because Carwin's from overseas, so he has different clothing, maybe more eccentric. And then I also gave him a beard and more facial hair to just show once again he's kind of more of the mysterious type of character to the Wylands, and he's a foreigner, and they want him to be depicted as on the outside of the circle. He also is kind of a fugitive, so kind of added the mustache, the bow tie, and the hat to make him a little more mysterious. Another male character from Wyland that I chose to design clothing for was Henry Pleyel, and this is Catherine's sister, Theodore's good friend, and Clara's love interest at the time. And Henry is kind of a more, I want to say, has a little bit more dramatic moments throughout the novel, but he's also more independent than the other characters. So I also kind of stuck with the same type of clothing realm as Theodore's, because I also see Henry as a more simple man, but I also put a scroll in his hand because I feel like he has a little bit more scholarly interests, and he's also a single man at the time. So I did give him a little bit more of a pop of color there, but I also kept him simple and kind of like just what I would see a typical single man in Pennsylvania to look like on a farm. I believe that most of these clothing designs would be a pretty accurate representation of what these characters would wear, or what they, if we were to make a film version, what I think they would be dressed up as. A lot of similarities with the clothing though in the 18th century, just because they didn't have many options. I mean, it was the 18th century. So you had a lot of just similar clothing, and they all were kind of in a little bubble, like on a farm in Pennsylvania. So you don't have many different options for the women and the men as well. But I think what kind of differentiated some of the clothing between them would just be like the color, or like how Clara's dress was a little bit more plain than Catherine's. Catherine had a little more eccentric. And then just Carwin compared to the other two gentlemen because he was from overseas. But I hope you like my designs.